Hey guys, welcome back to Hold a Heart Surgeon Part 3. Let me get comfy. I know it's been like 2-3 weeks in between. Forgive me, y'all. So let's just keep it going. So basically, we left off at Vaughn cheating on me or whatever, and him being with the girl, the flag bit, the twirler, in the band or whatever. So me and him ended up getting back together. Maybe it was a couple months, a couple weeks later. I don't remember the timeline, but we ended up getting back together. So in let's see, that was like 10th grade. Yeah. So moving on to now, I don't know if this happened in 10th or 11th grade, but I know that there was an incident where he came over my house. I wanted to lose my virginity to him. I'm not sure if he was a virgin or not. I think he may have had like more sexual experience than me, but I just don't remember for sure. But he came over, nothing happened. You know what happens when these niggas be nervous or whatever, and whatever. So it didn't happen. And my uncle, when he came home that day, we were just casually talking, and he was like, "Whose hairbrush is this?" And I'm like, "Yours." You know how these niggas be. He'd be like, "Whose panties are these?" They'd be like, "Yours." So I'm like, "Oh, that's your brush." He like, "This ain't my brush." So we went back and forth, and he pressed me until I told him like, "Okay, it's Vaughn brush." He went the fuck off. I guess because he thinking, we fucked, and what am I supposed to tell him? Like, oh, I don't know, his dick wouldn't get hard. We only dry hump. What the fuck am I supposed to tell him? Like, it didn't happen like that. Whatever. So he got all mad, and then we had a split level house. So like the whole bottom. Remember I told y'all he didn't sleep with my aunt and nothing. So he had the whole bottom, and she had the whole top. So it was like these stairs, like 8 stairs, and then a little platform, and then 8 more stairs to go up to the other top of the half. So we was downstairs. So I don't know if he grabbed me by my hair, my shirt. I don't remember. But he grabbed me by something, and he was dragging my ass up the stairs. So at that point, I called my aunt, like, "Whoa, nigga, this has gotten out of control." So I called my aunt, and I'm like, like he tripping, like he dragging me up the stairs and shit. So that was probably the only time I've ever heard her defend me, like ever. And I remember this because she was screaming through the phone, and it was something to the tune of "Keep your motherfucking hands off of her." You know what I'm saying? He was a big ass dude. You feel me? So yeah. So after she cussed him out, he was just sitting there like a little boy, I guess, whatever. And then he ends up calling Vaughn's parents. Either my aunt or my uncle called Vaughn's parents. And Vaughn said he was enjoying a movie with his family, and next thing you know, his mother going upside his head. So yeah, so basically we got in a ton of trouble for dry humping. And I remember that that punishment. My parents used to punish me like weird, almost like white people ways, like sick ways. So like, okay, I think I told y'all maybe I had 2 rooms at one. So my room was like one big room, so it had 2 doors because it used to be 2 smaller rooms, and the doors open like butterfly doors, like they would touch each other, when they were open, so the doorknobs would touch. So they would do that classic shit, tying my doorknobs together so I didn't have privacy. I believe for the punishment for when Vaughn had came over, I remember that one pretty specifically. They made me meticulously clean my room, and my aunt was just sitting in the room watching me. So like, it's so sick when I think about some of these things. Just like me being older and now knowing like what's considered normal and what's not. But when you're living in something, like if your father's been sexually whatever molesting you since you were 3, some people consider that normal in their household until they meet a friend like, "Bitch, that ain't normal." And then it's like, oh, same with me with certain things I thought was normal. My aunt coming in the dressing room with me until I left for college. Like I had big double D titties, and you're in the dressing room with me with my cousin. My cousin was just a baby then. It was just weird to me. Like, why you want to see my vagina? Like, why do you want to see me changing? Like, why are you pressed to come in the dressing room with me? My daughter's 15, and I'm not coming in the dressing room with her. That's just privacy and respect. She ain't doing nothing in that dressing room that's about to cost me nothing. Ain't nothing finna pop off in the dressing room. She ain't finna go in and come out pregnant. So it just was odd to me. Or for that punishment, it was a meticulously cleaning while my aunt watched. So I was like on my hands and knees with, I don't know, I had some kind of like cleaning brush, and I was just like really meticulously cleaning things, like just things you're not thinking about, like cleaning the legs of my desk, that I worked at. And she just sat there and watched me, just on my hands and knees cleaning. And I had asked her a question about my mom. I don't remember. I'm not even sure why I brought her up, but I asked her a question about my mom, and my aunt was just like, oh, she's fine. Like, for some reason, like, it was okay that they kind of knew what was going on with her, and I didn't. Growing up, basically, they would make it seem like my mom was like this hardcore drug addict, so it was definitely kind of weird. I never really knew what was going on with her. But yeah, so fast forward, now I'm in 11th grade, and me and Vaughn are together, and and this is towards the end of 11th grade. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember too much of the high school 11th grade, but I do remember at the end of 11th grade is when I started talking to my mom, like on the phone and stuff. Because one day me and my uncle were in the car just on our way home, and he just random as fuck just says, oh, we talked to your mom and she's having a baby tomorrow. Like, what? Nigga, mañana? Like, what is you talking about? It would just be shit like that. So yeah, she had my sister, and so one day me and my mom were on the phone, and we were just talking. We were just fucking catching up. I hadn't talked to her in God knows how many months, or who knows how long had went by. And so I was just telling her some stuff, like just talking to her about some stuff, and that's when she was kind of like, oh, that's weird, or that's not normal, or whatever. And then that's when she had, told me the story of, hey, y'all invited me out for the wedding, and everything was going well, but then she stopped answering her phone 2 weeks before I was supposed to fly out there. I'm not sure if I told y'all this or not. Forgive me if I did. But yeah, so my mom came out to the wedding because my aunt and uncle got married. But this one I was like 14. I think I already did tell y'all that. And yeah, she left her at the train station. And when I asked my mom why she didn't come to the house, she said she was still on probation. She didn't want to whoop her ass. So, I guess I get that. Me, if I already traveled 3,000 miles, bitch, you're gonna take this ass whooping, I guess, at that point. So, or I'm gonna just show up to the house. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna make sure my daughter sees me, because at that point, once my daughter see me, what you gonna say? Like, no, y'all can't spend time, But I get it, I guess. So while me and my mom are talking, she's just telling me some of the stuff my aunt did. I'm just like, ugh, It was definitely painting a different picture. Like, I knew some stuff, but I didn't know everything. So yeah. So I decided that I'm gonna spend my senior year with my mom, because my mom was like, why don't you come out here with me, spend your last school year with me, whatever. So I'm like, okay. So obviously this is a big step for any teenager to make, because my life was in Maryland. My friends, everything was in Maryland for me at that point. And so, and then Vaughn, well, so I thought about it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like I want to spend, you know what I'm saying? I want to spend the rest of this time in California with my mom. So I tell my aunt, and she didn't say like, don't go, and I knew she didn't give a fuck about me. It wasn't me. It was just for her to be able to say like, oh, my sister went to jail and I swooped in like a guardian angel and got my niece, like that type of, it's almost like I was nothing but a bragging right. Because as soon as they couldn't brag about me anymore, baby, they dropped me like a piece of trash. Piece of fucking trash. We'll get into that later because I want to stick with the timeline. But yeah, so my aunt was you know, saying little shit. So she says to me one day, she's like, because every Christmas, like, I used to get these little gifts from my mom, and it would come with like a letter with her like, oh, I'm doing well, da 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 da. And it was kind of weird to me, not weird to me because I was younger, so I wasn't really thinking too much into it, but it would definitely be long gaps that I had no contact with my mom whatsoever. And I just wouldn't know what the fuck was going on with her. Just, I've been bitch alive, I don't know. So but on Christmas it would never fail, like I would like have these little random gifts from her, and like kind of like this long letter, like letting me know what was going on with her in her life. So my aunt was like, oh yeah, like we were in the car one day and I had made my decision to leave, and so she was just saying little shit, and she was like, oh, she was like, and first of all, when, you know, my mom had even told me about things that my aunt had did, you know, leaving her at the train station and stuff like that, I didn't believe it at first, because I just didn't believe that my aunt could be that evil. Like, who the fuck would do something like that? Like, why? But my mom didn't have no reason to just lie about something like that for no reason. And after we had got off the phone that day, my aunt, who, you know, how my aunt was probably listening to every word. Somehow I was literally in my bed, like in the corner, like trying to like talk like this, because I knew how the fuck my aunt was. But I'm sure she heard some things, or she may have heard me crying a little bit. She never came in my room, but I know that that bitch had her ear to me. And because the minute I got off the phone and gave her phone back, my aunt says, you know not to believe everything people tell you, right? Why would that be the first thing you say when I get off the phone with my mom? I know one thing, bitch. I believe the woman more that popped me out her pussy than your crazy ass. I know that. So, yeah, one day me and my aunt, we in the car, and she driving, and she like, remember all them gifts that your mom used to send you with the letter? I'm like, yeah. She was like, yeah, your mom didn't really send you those gifts. We just sent you those gifts. We wrote the letters. You's an evil bitch. That could have been something that I could have went to my grave and just didn't have to know. Seriously. And I told my mom, and my mom said, why would she tell you that? What was the point in her trying to tell you that, like, all that's gonna do is hurt you? I guess that was supposed to make me say, like, what? There's no way I'm gonna go live with my mom now. Like, I guess that's like how that was supposed to go. I didn't say anything. I was just like, oh, that's fucked up to divulge, but okay. So yeah, so I told Vaughn. Of course, he was, you know, supportive. Maybe like a week before, he told me he didn't want me to go, but it's my mom. So I went out to California. So this is for my senior year, right? So I went out there in the summertime. I was going to spend my last year out there and go from there. So bam, went out there. Everything went pretty good. Now, at first, now y'all have to understand, like, my old school I was at is, I'm sorry, girl, these mosquitoes. It's a cornfield out there. So it was like my school, and in the back of the school was just a cornfield. And in front of the school was just a road and then some trees. So it wasn't like in the middle of nowhere, because it was, but it wasn't, right? So I, like, growing up, like, we took the cheese bus, stuff like that. Like, there was pretty much zero way for me to truly get in a lot of trouble, even though I was always in trouble. But that's because just little dumb shit I was doing around the house or whatever. Like, not really too much to get in trouble outside the house, because my parents never let me do shit outside the house, essentially. Like, I remember the whole time I was in high school, I remember one legit party I went to with Vaughn. I don't know how to talk my uncle into that, but we picked him up and everything and went to this party. Yeah, I remember that because, I don't know, Vaughn, he liked to dance. I don't think he could dance. I don't like men. I like men dancing, but I don't know, whatever. Anywho, but I remember that party. It was like a little basement joint. So yeah, so going out to San Diego and taking the city bus and just having freedom to just kind of do me and, you know, be out with my friends and stuff like that. Total different territory, you know? So when I went out to high school out there, I linked up with this girl named whatever, Brianna. And Brianna kind of like showed me around Dago and everything, like, because I hadn't lived there in 10 years, in, 9, 8, whatever years. So yeah, so Brianna was like my first friend. We was going to the same high school, and yeah, then I met this white girl, we'll call her Kaylee, in the school. So like me, Kaylee, and Brianna was cool. So me, Kaylee, and Brianna. So okay, so I used to hang with the Mexican kids at first, right? I was hanging with them. Yeah, and they was teaching me Spanish, and yeah, it was really cool. It was fun. But as I was talking to Brianna more, what the fuck is this white lady doing? As I was talking to Brianna more, Brianna was introducing me to some more niggas that was at the school. So in California, everything is outside because of the weather. So like the schools here, everything is inside. The cafeteria is inside. The classroom is inside. In California, you eat lunch outside. It's just everything's outside. So at my school, there was like a stage thing, speakers. Lunch was a vibe at my school. It wasn't just lunch. No, lunch was a show, bitch. Lunch was something else at my school, because at my school in California, it was like 6 different schools in one. So they had like the math program and the science program, the robotics, whatever. But by the time my mom had enrolled me, because it was later, the programs were all filled up, and the only program I was left with, was it called SEMA? I think. Don't quote me. Don't remember. SEMA, maybe. This program was specifically designed for the kids who English wasn't their first language. So it was me and a black girl, like very few black people in that program. And then the rest were Mexican. Everybody was Mexican. So that's why the majority of my friends starting out were Mexican. I would eat lunch with them, all of that. But Brianna was like, come hang out with us. So it was like a fence. It's a fence. And on this fence, that's where all the niggas, all the black kids are on this fence. And they called it Little Africa. So she would be like, come to Little Africa with me. So I slowly stopped eating lunch with my Mexican friends and moved over with my people to Little Africa. And almost instantaneously, I became popular. So it's interesting, in high school, I did get to experience being wildly unpopular and wildly popular. And it's interesting that I was wildly popular where I'm naturally from, which is San Diego. So that would have been interesting to have gone to school out there my whole life. It would have definitely been different. So at the time, I was stealing clothes like a motherfucker. I would go to Nordstrom's, and this is when like the big purses were in, like everybody had the big bags and everything. I would go to Nordstrom's, I would get some clothes, I would go in the dressing room, and some of the clothes I would leave, because they don't have like a bitch like, oh, here, you got 3 items. It's not Walmart, it's not Marshall's. So I would go in there, and maybe I would have 9 items, and I would take 3. Sometimes I started getting sloppy, because sometimes I would go home and I would have, the sensor they have to pop off, the sensor that'll go off in the detector. Like sometimes I would have that on the clothes, and I don't know how it didn't go off. It just didn't. So, and my mom didn't know I was stealing, because she didn't know what the fuck clothes I had coming from Maryland. So when I would steal something new, I would just be like, Mom, where's my shirt with the stars on it? Mom, where are my jeans with the red at the trim? Whatever. It would just be like that. So I was stealing clothes, going to Spencer's, stealing all type of accessories. And then, yeah, there was this girl. Oh, God, this girl. And I say I hated this girl. This girl hated me. And she was like, she didn't dress popular, and her hair wasn't always done, and basically felt like me prior, yeah, it felt like what I was at my old high school. You get what I'm saying? And so it was something about her, though. Me and my homegirls, we didn't fucking like her, period. And then me and this girl, we were forced to work on a project together. Now, by the time me and her were forced to work on a project together, I was real popular. Like, everybody fucked with me. And I used to roll with Brianna and this girl, we'll call her Katrina. Katrina had hands. So out in San Diego, at least at this time when I was in school, you always knew when someone was gonna fight, because they would get these gloves like kind of like those biker gloves or those motorcycle gloves. But you would put these gloves on, and if you seen a motherfucker walking with them gloves, you knew they was out to fight. So me, Katrina, and Brianna, like we rode together. You feel me? Katrina was a fighter. She just fought every day, every other day. She fought, and she was winning. Basically, she was like the Krishan Rock of our group. Yeah, and what ended up happening was, God, with that popularity shit, man, it's a lot to come with it. I will say that I would rather just be neutral, not unpopular, not super popular. I'd rather just be like regular in the middle. No one even really notices me, because it's a lot either way, and to experience both sides of that spectrum like that was really wild to me. Usually you just either popular or you're not. And so little shit started to happen. So Brianna, the one that introduced me to Little Africa, it was this dude. He was a gangbanger. You know, they be gangbanging out there. He was a Crip, I think. They would do the long ass handshakes. They would do all that shit. And I'd be like, how do you do that? And he'd be like, man, my brother bang. My brother been teaching me this. All this shit. So I remember he had bad like eczema and stuff on his face. But he had really liked me. So basically Brianna had liked him. I didn't know he had liked me, but I wasn't really into him. You know, I'm just enjoying my popularity, baby, okay? And so the white bitch we used to hang with, Kaylee, because we was all cool, you know, Kaylee too. Kaylee was like, you know, Brianna's been talking big shit about you. Like, she's been telling everyone you're this, telling everyone you're that. I was like, what? I said, that's really crazy because I just seen her. She definitely wasn't saying that. So I confronted Brianna, you know, after school. I went to her. I'm like, what's up, bitch? Like, I heard you been talking shit. She said some shit like, get the fuck out my face. Like, yo, she really flipped the script on me. So I'm like, oh, wow. So I see what we doing. So I was saying something to her. Now, mind you, so our high school was next to a community college. So when we had got out of school and the community college was getting whatever, they were changing classes or whatever, there was essentially thousands of kids everywhere, right? In this area. So my school was right across the street from an infamous McDonald's. The reason why I say this McDonald's is infamous because the parking lot was always empty because it was always people fighting in there. Like, basically you come after school and bitch fight me in this McDonald's parking lot. So we're walking and we're in the McDonald's parking lot because you would go through the parking lot and then you would go to the light rail. Everybody would go home. And so I was saying something to her and she just turned around and walked away. And so I had like, you know, like put my hand on her shoulder to spin her around like, oh, bitch, don't, you know, walk away when I'm talking to you. And she spun around and she just hit me. Bow. I hit her back. Boom, we fighting off the break. McDonald's parking lot. This is my first actual real fight in school, like, period. My first real fight, period, in life. And so she hits me. We're going back and forth. I fall and I lose my balance. And she takes my head. Now, mind you, I didn't feel this because my adrenaline is so high. I can only tell you what some of the people told, like what people was telling me after. Because my homegirl Katrina, of course, no, ain't nobody jumping in. Like when it in Cali, like if it's one-on-one, it's one-on-one. We not jumping you, bitch. It's one-on-one. So our homegirl not gonna jump in because she neutral. She like, nah, let my bitches fight. Head up, you feel me? Let them fight. So so I'm on the ground. So she got my head. She's banging my head against the concrete, but my adrenaline's so high. It just feels like, it felt like she wasn't doing it. It felt like I was holding my neck stiff and she wasn't getting it to the ground. And then her head went back, like, poof, went back. And someone said, I need her hard as fuck. And when her head went back like that, that's when she was kind of like, oh. And then by this point, the McDonald's managers had did what they usually do. They really should have got paid double salary because low-key they was also like security. Okay, so the McDonald's managers came out and they like took her off of me, and I got up and that was it, you know, like the fight was over. And I cussed her out on the way to the light rail. She had pulled my ponytail off and all this bullshit. I'm not gonna hold you, I didn't quite win that one. I wouldn't say I won that fight. Didn't get my ass beat, but I didn't win. Okay, And we actually ended up being friends a little bit after that. But also during that time, like, you know, I kind of just like left my Mexican friends out to dry, and I could see that they felt it. Like, damn, bitch, like we really welcomed you in our Mexican arms. Like, we didn't give a fuck that you was black. We didn't give a fuck you couldn't, bitch, hablo no español like that. Like, we fucked with you, and then you just left us for your own people. I kind of felt like caught in the middle a little bit. But yeah, and it was this Mexican boy that had liked me. When I say he habla no English, not even un poquito, nada más y menos, nada, okay, nada. So I'm looking at him like, he's looking at me. And yeah, that's about as much as me and him did. We kissed, beso. That was pretty much it. Wasn't really too much else we could do besides fucking. And I wasn't there yet. So that was another adventure. One time I took my friends out and I stole a whole bunch of shit. We went to Claire's. And they'd be like, where you be getting your shit from? I'm like, girl, I be stealing that shit. They'd be like, what? So we went to Claire's, and I told them when we went in there, I said, just point at what you want. Just point at what you want. I said, I'm gonna get it for you. They were going like, oh, this looks cute, like little stuff like that. And when we walked out the store, they were like, where's your shit? Man, I had all that shit. They was like, when did you get this shit? I said, bitch, I'm a professional booster at this point. I should have been boosting. That's what my dumb ass should have been doing. I should have been boosting. Are you serious? Damn, I would have been making money. Damn, why don't I? Now I don't even do them type of legal activities no more. It's crazy. But anyway, so yeah, that was fun. And so another time in high school, and this makes me feel bad. This always stays with me. I don't know why like weird shit stays with me, but it does. So it was, remember the girl I told you I just didn't like her? The one that kind of reminded me of me at my old school, her. So me and her had to do a project together. Oh, this is what happened. Me, her, and the white bitch, Kaylee, we was all cool. No, me and Kaylee was cool. And me, Kaylee, and this girl that we didn't like had to do a project together. What had happened was, Kaylee thought, I guess she thought this was going to give her a pass. I guess she thought, hold on, because the white lady over there, I don't want to say it too loud. I guess she thought that white privilege was going to get her ass a pass on this project. No, bitch, it's too many niggas on this project for you to have any white privilege. So, yeah, we took her name off the motherfucking project. Me and that black girl came together on that shit. I said, bitch, we ain't putting Kaylee's name on here. I don't care if she my friend or not. She was like, cool. And that was it. So when we turned the project to the teacher, Kaylee gonna say, Ashley, why is my name out on the project? I said, Kaylee, why you ain't do no work? I may not like this bitch, but come on, she did what she came to do. So it was like, we had to like film. It was part of the project. And I remember at the end of the filming, so this was when Beyonce's to the left, everything on. This is when her song To the Left was out. And we literally, at the end of the project, we was filming, and we filmed to the left. So when the class was watching our project, the camera just didn't cut off. The film kept going, and the teacher like literally let the class watch our whole little rendition of To the Left. So me and her was cool after that. Like, we was real cool. So it was a boy that she had liked, but he was popular. So she knew that you don't quite have the keys to go over to Little Africa, but I did. And so I said, oh, bitch, you like whatever the fuck his name was. Oh, bitch, you like Daquan? You like Daquan? Daquan was a cutie or whatever. So I'm like, girl, that's nothing. So me and her is talking something like Daquan. So I'm like, Daquan, this is my friend, whatever, Shakita, this Daquan, da-da-da-da-da. And you could tell he was being nice to her, but she just wasn't in our crowd. Y'all know how high school is. It don't matter if you do like the bitch. If the bitch ain't in your crowd, you're not going to date her because you're so worried about what people think, and we're shallow as shit and we're 17 and things like that. So that's what it was. So why that week I had introduced her to him, and then that weekend I almost fucked Daquan. Like, I had went to his house. Did he give me some perks or something? I think he sold some drugs, or he had some drugs, or something with drugs. I don't remember. But I want to say he gave me some perk or something. And we was just dry humping. We ain't do nothing. We just dry humped. did I want it? I don't really remember all the details, but I remember that it was fucked up what I did. And I told her, and she was really sad after that. I just remember she was sad. And I felt bad. And then we wasn't not cool, but it definitely wasn't the same. So, that happened. So eventually that was like what was going on in high school. The situation with me and my mom really went left. To the point where she started getting basically just as crazy as my aunt. I honestly think when I went out there with the idea of, okay, yeah, this is my mom. We're going to have a great time. I think, not to say I wasn't thinking of her as my mom, but I was thinking it was going to go a different way. And the last time my mom had me, I was like 7. Now it's been 10 years. So I'm not the same person, obviously. So I think we kind of went into it with like rose-colored glasses a little bit. Not even really having that strong of a bond. Like once I went to Maryland, because there would just be these long-ass gaps to where I wasn't allowed to contact her, or I didn't know how. Things like that. So I can't say where it went left. It was just little shit. I know like one time I was supposed to come straight home, and I just stayed after school with my friends at McDonald's and like sat and ate with this boy that I liked. And by the time I got home, my mom was like overly melodramatic. So she's like holding my sister in my arms, and my sister's dad was there. And she's like, if you weren't here in 30 more minutes, we're going to call the San Diego police. Like, why? You're so fucking dramatic. I think she was calling. I was just fucking ignoring her because it's like, I just want to be a teenager. I have not been able to be that. And it's my last year. Please let me cut up, mommy, just a little bit. Just let me hang out with this nigga at McDonald's. I don't remember the specifics. It's just me and her started like bumping heads. Then she really just started doing some wild shit. So basically I heard her on the phone with a friend, and she was telling this friend like I've been reading her diary. I just, for me, because I just had no sense of like privacy or anything, like I never felt not unsafe, like I think someone's gonna come and get me, but not like feeling like emotionally safe. Like my daughter knows, all right, I'm gonna call my mother gonna handle this. Like she knows, like it doesn't matter if I cussed her out before she went to school, doesn't matter if I'm upset with her, she was upset with me. My daughter knows, like once I call my mom, oh, this shit getting handled, period. I never felt like that with them at all. And so one time, when my mom had told her friend she was reading my diary, it really like made me feel away. And so I had wrote an entry. I had wrote a diary entry that night, and I started off and said, "Dear Mom." And I basically laid her ass out and told her a lot of shit that she didn't want to fucking hear about herself. And she responded to that by the next day. I come in, and I think she wasn't home, so she was like, pack a bag. So I'm like, okay. So I pack a bag, and she takes me to this program called Oz. Oz was a program for basically wayward children. And I was at this program for 2 weeks. I didn't get to say goodbye to my friends. Didn't give me a heads up that I wouldn't be at school for 2 weeks. Nothing like that. And you had to live at this place. So I was living here with 2 weeks. Yo, have you ever thought maybe you had some issues till you was around people with real issues? Yeah. So, honestly, I don't remember too much about my time there. What I do remember was this is when the Hannah Montana show was on, and I remember there was a boy that was on that show, and he was good, and they signed him up for a couple more episodes. He was a child actor. He was 14, but he looked like 10. He looked real young. And I remember that he was an alcoholic. And now looking back at it, being as old as, being my age now, I can look back and be like, oh yeah, he looked like an alcoholic even back then. And I remember he said he would be on set, and his parents would be somewhere, whatever. And he said on set, this is Hannah Montana, Disney, Hannah Montana. He said on set it was liquor. And he would get drunk in between the takes. I just never forgot that shit. Basically, I was in there with a minor celebrity who had substance abuse issues. It's giving, you know, Drew Barrymore. Anyway, so, is that her name, right? Drew Barrymore, the white bitch, E.T. phone home. I think her. Shorty was partying like, yeah, mad young. But, so what else? Like, we would basically have sessions and shit like that. But I do remember sessions, like, you have sessions with your parents. So one of the sessions, my mom was in it, and the lady was asking my mom, like, well, do you feel guilty about how your actions led you to being arrested, and that led your child to not being able to live with you? And you know what I'm saying? And she was like, yeah. But that was the only time I ever heard her say, like, she felt guilty or bad about how her actions caused, like, a domino effect with my life. So, yeah. So, Bum, I don't know where that came from. Bum, she took me out of that, out of Oz. I mean, it was 2 weeks. I guess I graduated. I didn't get kicked out or nothing. The program was over. And I went back home. Then there was another instance. I had swallowed a whole bunch of, like, aspirin or ibuprofen or something, like trying to, like, kill myself or something. I don't know. And I was getting nervous, I think, because my stomach was starting to twinge or something. And so I went and told a school official, like, whoever I told somebody. He's like, okay, I'm going to call your mom. So he called my mom. As soon as my mom come up, this bitch don't even say, are you okay? What's going on, Ashley? Like, what happened? Why did you do this? She sits down and she look at this man and say, yeah, I called you last week. Why you ain't return my phone call? Woman, I could be damn near, I could be dying. He called you today, okay, to let you know I swallowed these pills. So, he, of course, is just looking nervous and shit like, Miss Rush, your daughter swallowed some pills. That's why we're here today. Let's handle that first. So she takes me to the doctor. I don't have to get my stomach pumped. The levels weren't at that toxicity, whatever yet, I guess. And then okay, this part I'll get. So there was a lady I spoke to after, and she wanted me to, basically she was trying to get me committed. And the lady was trying to tell her, like, she's not at a mental place, like, where she needs to be committed. Like, you know, you having issues with your daughter is different than somebody who's fucking 5150. It's just not the same. So, but somehow I still ended up getting committed. I don't remember how, but she put me in, like, the psych ward. It was really bad. I was there probably a couple of days, and I was in there with this woman. This woman would just say all kind of wild ass shit. President Clinton gave me gonorrhea. I mean, you know, knowing his track record. But she would just say all type of wild shit. Like, when I would take a bath, they had to watch you. Like, they tried to be, like, respectful. Like, they're not, like, you know, but I couldn't have a razor. Or if I wanted to shave my legs, like, they have to watch you, like, you know. It was a real psych ward. And I remember there was this lady. It's so crazy, man. This is just some wild shit I went through. I was 17. It was a lady, probably in her 40s. And I always remember, for some reason, this was around the time of the playoffs. I hate sports. Anybody that knows me knows I don't like sports. I don't like sports because I was damn near forced to play my whole life, so I don't like them. Anyway, but I remember the NBA playoffs was on, and the reason why I remember is because everyone was playing so horribly, like missing these shots that just looked easy. And so I remember I had asked somebody that was in there with me, because it was like a rec room, so it was like just our free time. And I remember I had asked someone, I'm like, gosh, why are they all playing so horrible? And I remember they were like, oh, it's the playoffs, like they're nervous. Like, I don't know why I always just remember that random shit, but I do. So the lady, she me and her would talk. She was like cool, but she was crazy. And once she started getting a little bit too whatever, When I tell you, I don't know what dosage of Seroquel they was giving this woman, but they would give her Seroquel, and I always hated after they would give it to her because I couldn't really talk to her no more because she was just out of it. You know, they definitely gave it to her to just sedate her and shut her the fuck up. So I remember that, and I remember that, you know, by the grace of God, they discharged me, and if not, I do remember they were about to start me on lithium, which is a very strong antipsychotic that they would have had literally no business putting me on lithium. I don't even think they should give it out today, and it's 2023. That's just me. I feel like if they put me on that lithium, I probably would have never been the same. Who fucking knows? But I'm glad that I was taking out that situation pretty early, because when you went crazy and you in there with a whole bunch of crazy niggas, yeah, it's pretty weird and scary and an unpleasant thing. So I was taken out of that. So eventually my mom said she just felt I was so out of control that she was like, you can just come in the house whenever you want. I don't give a fuck. She was like, you could, no, this is what it was. You could come in, and it has to be before 10. So if you get here at 9:59, you're fine. She said if it's after 10, you have to find a place to sleep that night. So, I mean, I just never thought our little issues were that serious. Like, there wasn't a time I had to find somewhere else to sleep. I would usually come in around maybe an hour or two after school, let out. Like, it wasn't nothing crazy because I wasn't doing shit crazy. You know, for her to, I don't, honestly, I just don't know why she felt that way. I think it was just like a lot of little shit that accumulated between us and her not really knowing how to handle it, maybe. So she was just like, do what you want until 10. So, yeah, so I was 17 and I had met this man. He was an African man, good looking. He was 25, I believe. 20s, I know that. And I'm not sure what his father was. I don't know if he was like a prince or a king or something out there, but every time he would get on the phone with his dad, two things would happen: big blowout argument and then a wire transfer. So I didn't mind when the daddy called. So when I met him, we would argue all the time. You know, Africans are very pushy, whatever. So we would like go back argue all the time, but he would like take me out. He took me out to the movies. So the first time I met him, I believe that's when he took me out to the movies. He took me out to get some like sushi or something. And we were like arguing the whole time or something. You gotta remember, I'm fucking 17. So, well, first of all, before I even tell y'all that story, let's rewind a little bit. So when I was 17, when I'm 17, I was doing something on a Saturday. I went to do something at the school or something, and then I went up to the mall. It's like a little outside mall, and I met a guy there, and he's like, oh, you know, talking to me, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 17, and he said he was 23. Okay, so we exchanged numbers. He said he wanted to go to the movies, so I told my mom, I'm like, Ma, I want to go to the movies with a boy from my school. She didn't ask too many questions. She's like, okay, who? And I'm like, oh, so-and-so. And this is when Dreamgirls was out. So I was like, we're going to go see Dreamgirls. So she was like, okay, no problem. So I go up to the mall where we met at, and I'm waiting. I'm actually on the phone with a friend from school. While I'm waiting on him, the guy never shows up, stands me up. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking embarrassed. Like, I don't want to tell nobody I've been stood up. So I go home. When I go home, my mom's like, Ashley, how was the movie or something? I'm like, oh, good. She like, well, that guy been calling, and he's been calling saying he left his phone, and somebody, because I just gave him my house number. She was like, the guy that has been calling, and she's been saying he left his phone somewhere, and that y'all had went to the movies. No, that he never came up to see you with the movies, so he was trying to call you to let you know, like, he wasn't trying to whatever diss you or something. So I was like, oh, well, we went to the movies. I just didn't want to tell her that I got stood up. So then she was like, okay, well, we're going to solve this. So she calls this nigga on three-way. So then she's like, she asked him, she said, did you go to the movies with my daughter? He didn't really understand, I guess, why I lied. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. So he was just like, look, bitch, I don't want to get in this. You could talk to your daughter. And I'm like, tell her we went to the movies. Like, niggas, you retarded. Just read the room and tell her we went to the movies. So whatever. So, that happened. So then I guess like a week or two later, when he called, my mom kept saying like his name looked familiar on the caller ID. His name looked familiar. So come to fucking find out, this nigga, so my mom know a whole bunch of people. So my mom had a friend and the friend had a roommate. Come to find out, this is her friend's roommate. And not only was he not 23, he just had a birthday and he was definitely 29. And she told the friend, like, your roommate was trying to talk to my 17-year-old daughter and they ended up whooping his ass. Okay, long story short, he got his ass beat. And so, yeah, whew, small world, huh? I mean, out of all the little underage girls you could have talked to, sir, you didn't fucked around and found out. So that was that. Obviously, never heard from him again. And hopefully he found a new room to rent, because that's wild. So then all right, so going into the other story. So this was around the time, you know, my mom's like, just come in before 10, whatever. And I would always come in at a decent time. Like I said, I wasn't ripping and running the streets that damn hard. It wasn't that serious, whatever. So Christmas Eve, this is Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve 2006. And this is when the Chargers were still San Diego Chargers. Now they're like LA Chargers, which is so stupid. But anyway, they were San Diego Chargers. And I'll never forget this. I don't know if it was like playoffs or something, but it was a game and I remember they were losing. And they somehow like did the last minute touchdown and they won. I just remember it was a big deal that they ended up turning that game around and winning. But yeah, that was New Year's. That was Christmas Eve. And the African guy had called me. And so he's like, hey, you want to go out to see a movie? So I'm like, yeah, let's go see a movie. So we was going to see Dreamgirls. I mean, I just kept trying to see this goddamn Dreamgirls. So he stayed at this hotel downtown San Diego. It's called the U.S. Grant. Now you want to hear some weird shit. Moving forward in the story later, there will be this white boy that I date, and his dad was an architect who helped design the U.S. Grant. Interesting little tidbit I wanted to throw out there, just on how small the world is. It's so weird. So he took me to the U.S. Grant. It's not cheap. And we were in there, and I don't know, one thing led to another, and I lost my virginity. It was, I hate to even say that I lost my virginity to him, because it was like two pumps, and I pushed him off of me because I just really wanted to save it for someone like special. But I think I was just curious, how does it feel and all of that type of shit. And so after like two pumps, I pushed him off me. I'm like, I ran out the hotel room. He ran out in his drawers and a wallet full of money, because he had lied and said he didn't have no money to go to the movies. Well, it looks like he got a couple $100 to me. And so he was like, I got the money, let's go. And I remember I was like crying or mad. And the way that the hotel was made, the elevators, it was weird. It wasn't like one elevator went to all the floors. One elevator went to like 1 through 12. Another elevator went from like 12 to floor 20. So like, I'm like trying to find the right elevator to the lobby. I'm like pressing this elevator, pressing that one. And like, he's literally, it's just a scene. Like, if you walked out your room, you would have saw a 17-year-old girl, a 25-year-old African man running after the girl with a wallet. He had nothing but drawers on and money in his hand. Okay, that's what you would have seen, bro. Like, yeah. And so I went downstairs, and I was just standing on the corner, like waiting for the light to change. I'm outside now, I was just about to go back home. I was waiting on the light to change so I could walk across the street, and there was a boy just standing with me right there with me, waiting across. And I got a feeling about him. I just have these psychic intuitions. I can't explain it. I just do. I just have intuitions, tingles, readings about people, and I can't explain it. I just do. And so I got that little, you know, whatever it was, like about him, like hello. And we go to the bus, and you know, we sit all the way in the back of the bus, you know, Rosa Parks style. This bitch did all that for us to run to the back of the bus years later. But we're all the way in the back. He's in this seat. I'm here. And then at some point, a white boy gets on the bus. Very short bus ride because I was going straight home. I wasn't far from downtown. And I remember he, I think I was just damn near in shock. So I'm just like telling him what happened. Don't know this boy from a blade of grass. I'm not sure how we started talking, but I did. So I'm telling him what happened. He's like, wow, you know, like he wasn't being, what's the word, like sympathetic to my situation. He was like saying little funny remarks. And so I remember somehow him, like the white boy gets in a conversation, and they're a little older than me. Like, you know, the boy, he was maybe 19 or something, and the white boy maybe same-ish or something. I'm 17. So we all get off the bus, and somehow we all decided we were going to do meth together, okay? I don't remember all of the conversation, y'all. I'm just telling y'all what I remember. He was talking about meth, and so I'm like, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's the stuff, and it can help you study. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, it sounds like something I need, right? And he's like, you can do it around your parents won't know. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so me, the black boy, and the white boy was going to go to the white boy house and do some meth. The black boy and the white boy ended up talking. Like, they talked in private and then just left me to the side. And then the white boy was like, I'm just going to go home. Right? Like, okay. So this is all on Christmas Eve, right? At this point, it's like the sun is setting. It's like dark. So you know how it gets dark at like 5 o'clock in the wintertime. So it's probably like maybe 6 or something. So I remember the boy I was with, he was a gangbanger, apparently, right? And I remember as we were on our way to the trolley stop, everybody knew him. When I say everybody knew him, everybody knew him. All the homeless people, everybody. So we get up and we go to the trolley stop. We get off the trolley, excuse me. And it's some niggas at the stop. And he like, oh, them is my cousins, don't worry. So he like, oh, they just waiting here. Apparently the dude I was with had got jumped a few days prior. He got beat up. And his cousins were at that trolley stop waiting to, you know, shoot them niggas that beat up their little cousin, essentially, or fuck them niggas up or whatever. So all these people are now, the cousins are definitely older than me, okay? And I remember they like, oh, what you got this little shorty? You know how like niggas be. And so I had my purse on my, like, you know, I just had my purse like on my shoulder or whatever. And so one of them just snatched that bitch off my shoulder and just ran like the wind with my purse. Like, what the fuck? So I'm like, give me my purse. I'm chasing him. So then he runs back to the station and he like, oh, what, you ain't never had no niggas fuck with you before? And he kissed me. He pressed his lip. He said, give me a kiss. And he just pressed his lips on my, mind you, I'm 17. This man probably damn near 30. They definitely older. He pressed his lips onto me and just, that Hennessy. That's why I can't do the Hennessy. It just, the smell, it reminded me of that man forcing me to kiss him. Ugh. And so I got my purse back. And the boy walks me up a hill. It's like this long ass hill to get to his house. So when we get in the house, I noticed all these like awards and pictures, and he lived with his uncle. His uncle was like a kung fu master or something. And he had all these, like the nigga was posing with Jackie Chan and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, this nigga's like the real deal. I don't know too many nigga kung fu masters. That's cool. So he like, yeah, my uncle cool, whatever. So he puts on Paid in Full. And he starts lighting candles. And so I was like, you know, I'm not gonna have sex with you, right? I already told you what happened to me today. Like, I lost my virginity in 2 pumps and I hate it. I regret it. Like, and he's like, oh, like, girl, relax. So the uncle eventually comes home, like, oh, hello, how are you? Da, da, da. And the uncle goes in his room. And when he goes in his room, the boy just starts like he stands up. So like if I'm here, the boy's standing here, and he just whips his dick out, and he goes boom or bang. It's a boom or a bang, one of those. And the dick is like here, like almost touching my eye. And I said, put that thing away. I said, what are you doing? I said, I already told you I'm not going to have sex with you. That boy pushed me down, spread my legs open, started kissing me. And I just remember begging. His uncle was in the next room. It's so funny how your mind thinks when you're in certain situations, right? Oh, because if someone tried to rob me, I got them. A lot of talking for situations a lot of us ain't been in or never will be. But I will tell you this, you freeze up a lot of times because you can't even fathom that it's happening to you. In humans, just our brains. So it's Christmas Eve. I didn't want to like yell at his uncle was in the next room. I didn't want to make a scene. To me, that would have been embarrassing to me. I did willingly come with this boy to his house. I didn't know this boy from a can of paint. You know, his cousins had already manhandled me damn near. So I just remember I kept whispering in his ear. I just kept saying, please, please don't rape me. Please don't rape me. Please, please don't rape me. Please don't rape me. And he got off me. He got off me. And I think if I just really just didn't say nothing, he absolutely would have. And I just couldn't imagine losing my virginity and getting raped in the same day. So, yeah. He got off of me, and then his whole demeanor changed. His whole attitude changed. I told him, walk me back to the station because I'm ready to go home. His uncle had came back out the room, and he told his uncle, like, oh, I'm about to take her home. And uncle like, okay, are you safe? Because, like, I didn't know I was in a bad neighborhood. I don't know. And so he like, yeah. And, yo, I don't know if he had, like, special built-in, like, pockets on his jeans, but he pulled a real live machete. If you've never seen a machete, it's a huge motherfucking knife, okay? And so he's like, yeah, shling. I'm like, what the fuck? You ain't got, like, a little mace, a taser or something? Nigga, what is this? Like, what, you gonna chop a nigga head off? And so, and when he's walking me down back to the station, he's talking shit. He gonna say, because I feel like hurting somebody. That was my cue to get unscared very quickly because, baby, I've already been through enough traumatic experiences today. And if you think that you're even going to cut a toenail off with that machete, nigga, we are going to go Mortal Kombat on this motherfucking block on some real shit. And so I said, but you ain't finna hurt me. Shit, you done did already hurt me emotionally. You think you finna hurt me physically now? Now that's where I draw the line, buddy. The fuck? I'm not that soft. So I'm talking shit. So then we get on the train. He telling somebody on the train basically how he mad I ain't let him rape me. So the guy on the train is like, oh, what you thought was going to happen when he went back to his house? I told my ex, he was like, I don't know why men enjoy raping women. I said, a lot of men don't look at it like they're raping women. They look at it like, oh, she's just too drunk to say yeah. Or, you know what I'm saying? A lot of men look at it, they don't look at it like that. You know, a lot of men really do look at it like, oh, well, man, that bitch, she wanted it. She was flirting with me. She tripping. You know, she like it rough. You know, one time I had made a comment on a friend's Facebook page. I don't know what the hell she said, but I had said something like, yeah, because this guy had raped me too. And there was this boy just going back and forth. He didn't rape you. I don't know this man from nothing. This was an incident that happened when I was an adult and had got raped. And he didn't rape you. You just like it. He was doing it rough. You're sick and you're a rapist probably, because how are you just gonna straight tell me like you weren't there? You know, there's a lot of rapists out there. I don't want to get too deep into it, but take it from someone that literally sold her body for money. It's a lot of rapists out there, and I'm gonna keep it at that for now. But anyway, we got on the train, and his friend got cussed out too, because his friend was like, well, you went home with him. I'm like, oh, so I just deserve to go through a traumatic experience because I made a bad decision and went home with a stranger? No, I don't. So yeah, I cussed him out all the way home. When we got off the trolley, I cussed him out, and then I cussed him out as I was walking up the hill to my house. I got in the house, it was 9:55. And my mom was like, oh, you just made it. I'm like, yeah, I did, Ma. Yeah, you're right. I did just barely make it in every sense of that goddamn phrase. But we're gonna stop it there. It's been an hour. So that was definitely a lot of my experiences my senior year. I still got to tell y'all about what happened when I went. I can't even say nothing else. Okay, I'm just gonna end it here, you guys. But you guys, just thank you so much for listening. I really love you guys. You guys are so wonderful. Thank you for all of the support. Any questions, any concerns, or anything, feel free to hit me up. Thank you for listening to my story. I love you guys. Beso.